Hey, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. My name is Glenn Kiser. I am the director of the Dolby Institute. And thank you so much for coming to this session today to hear a little bit about the Dolby Institute and the work that me and my team are doing to kind of educate and inspire the next generation of content creators. I want to give a shout out to DJ Doug Infinite for that pre-show set. It was pretty amazing. I kind of wish he would come back because I guarantee you he's probably more entertaining than I am. But I'm really thrilled to be here just to give you a little bit of an introduction to myself and to John Scanlon, who is also on my team and will be presenting to you today. I have spent my entire career in film post production. Um, I got started as a post production supervisor on feature films. And basically, what that means is that I was basically a project manager for movies, responsible for everything that happened to a movie after it was shot, but before it was in the theaters. So I oversaw the editing of the picture and the sound mix, the music recording, the visual effects, the finishing of the film. And that's kind of how I started my career. I'm in Los Angeles, where I've spent a lot of my career. I did spend about 10 years working for George Lucas. He recruited me to come up to the Bay Area and run his company, Skywalker Sound. And so that's where I learned a lot of what I know about sound for film and television. It was a great honor for me to work for George and to spend about 10 years running that company, Skywalker Sound. And if you don't know Skywalker, it's probably one of the best film post-production facilities in the world. We did the sound for Avatar, all the Pixar films, the Pirates of the Caribbean movies, the Harry Potter series we worked on, obviously Star Wars and Indiana Jones. So I've had the great honor and pleasure of working with a lot of great filmmakers on a lot of really big Hollywood studio tentpole movies. But also a key part of what I did at Skywalker was reach out to younger directors, younger filmmakers working in the independent film scene to kind of educate them on why sound is important for storytelling. And that's really, that has grown and developed into the work that I now do with Dolby. I joined Dolby in 2014. We had an idea at that point that Dolby had done a fantastic job over the years with educating post production professionals on how to use our technology and our tools. But we really hadn't ever done a lot of work on reaching out to writers and directors and producers to educate them and inspire them about how to use sound more creatively for storytelling. And shockingly, this is not something that's an object of a lot of discussion and teaching at film schools in the US, but especially abroad. So there was an opportunity there to come in, and that was kind of the kernel of the idea behind what has grown into the Dolby Institute. So Haley, let's put up that slide deck, if you would. Great, thank you. So again, I'm Glenn Kiser, and we're going to be joined a little bit later on by John Scanlon, who is on my team. And John is our senior manager of education programs at the Dolby Institute and has a very lengthy background as an educator that he'll tell you more about. But we're a very small team at the Dolby Institute. There are about 4 of us working on our programs right now. So I wanted to take just a little bit of time today to give you an overview of the Dolby Institute and what we're doing and what our mission is. And then John will come in and talk to you in a little bit more detail about our education programs focusing on sound and image. So we created the Dolby Institute to address some key questions. And I mentioned the first one, which was really how do we reach out to writers and directors and producers and inspire them and educate them to think more creatively about sound and image as part of the storytelling process. And again, as I said, it's amazing to me that especially on the sound side, this is not really a skill or a mindset that tends to be taught in film schools, much less in um, you know, even media-rich high schools or programs where young content creators are getting access and education around how to create content. So we saw a unique opportunity to talk specifically to directors and writers about how to think creatively about sound from the very beginning of the creative process. So, secondly, as we started to develop the program for the Dolby Institute, we decided to broaden that. In addition to established writers and directors and producers in our industry, to really focus on the next generation of content creators and reaching students early as they start to create content from a UGC perspective, a user generated content perspective, and really start to think about how image and sound can help them express themselves creatively and be part of the tool set that they have to tell story. If you work with young content creators, you know that most of them don't tend to think about sound as a creative storytelling tool. Typically, they're focused on the image and usually what they capture in camera when they are on set or wherever it is that they're shooting, and they're rolling and capturing video footage. That's kind of what the sound is, and they don't tend to either think about sound creatively or have the skills to really dig into the sound and augment it and make it into a creative part of their storytelling process. So that's what we try to do at the Dolby Institute. And then finally, we sense a role for ourselves in enabling and supporting a more diverse set of voices in our industry, particularly on the post production side with sound and image finishing. Those tend to be not very diverse communities in the film and television production community. It's getting more so, but we sense that there's a great deal more that we can do to educate a diverse set of younger people and students about potential careers in our industry, and that these are viable, fun, interesting, lucrative careers that people can go into and have a very creatively satisfying experience. So, quite simply, the mission of the Dolby Institute is inspiring and educating the next generation of content creators to bring their dreams to life in Dolby. We have articulated some core values, and those are to enable, to inspire, and to educate around content creation tools. And to really, the enable part is to enable students to express themselves with greater clarity and passion and efficacy through the content that they create. And then finally, we see a role for ourselves in amplifying human stories from new voices that need to be heard. And we can do that through a variety of our distribution channels, which I'll touch on in just a moment. So that's an overview of kind of the mission of the Dolby Institute. And I want to get into just a little bit of detail about some of our programs and what we're doing to enact that mission and to bring some of those concepts to life. First is around creation. We are creating a lot of content to inspire and educate artists and also to build a community on Dolby's digital platforms. So I'm going to touch on these individually, but this is an overview of some of our major content creation initiatives. First up is the Sound and Image Lab, which is the Dolby Institute podcast. We just relaunched the podcast in January, and we are a regular podcast on a biweekly schedule. We just posted an interesting new episode yesterday about the importance of sound design in short films. I had the opportunity to be a guest speaker at the Aspen Short Film Festival a couple of weeks ago, which is, like all film festivals, moved online during the COVID era. And so I had a conversation with three young filmmakers who had made movies that were doing some really interesting, unique, and exciting things with sound in their short films. And the Aspen Shorts Fest is a qualifying film festival for the Academy Awards. So they invited me to come in and give a talk with some of these filmmakers about how they were using sound creatively to tell their stories. And so we packaged that episode as a Dolby Institute podcast. And as I said, we released that episode yesterday, and it's already gotten a lot of great comments and and engagement. So, really, what we're doing with the Dolby Institute podcast is talking with some of the leading creative teams behind some of your favorite TV shows and films, and really digging into their creative process and how they use sound and image creatively for storytelling. You can see here that some of our recent episodes were on Mank. We had the director David Fincher on the show, along with his longtime sound designer Ren Kleiss. And then last summer, when Hamilton was released on streaming platforms, I had the pleasure of sitting down in conversation with the sound team, not only from the original Broadway show, but then the artists who translated that show onto the big slash small screen as it was streaming on Disney Plus, and translated that experience of the Broadway show into Dolby Atmos on Disney Plus. So as I mentioned, we post new episodes every 2 weeks. The Dolby Institute podcast. You can find us anywhere you normally find your podcasts. We're on all the major platforms. And additionally, we do produce our episodes in video. So you can see us for those conversations, and those videos are posted on Dolby's YouTube channel, in addition to audio only versions on all of the major streaming platforms. I'm excited. We do, as I think John will make you aware of, some of the work we're doing at Dolby Atmos and how important music is becoming to Dolby, and what we're doing to make those tools accessible to content creators working in the music space. And so we will have some coming up over the next few months, focusing on Dolby Atmos music and gaming in Dolby, and lots of other spaces where our technology shows up and empowers content creators. As I mentioned, when we started the Dolby Institute, we were really focused on writers and directors, and then on emerging content creators. But we have found over time that a large part of our audience is working post-production professionals, especially internationally. So we have created a kind of a side grouping of content under the label of Dolby Institute Pro. And those are deep dive technical demonstrations, conversations, Q&As, webinars that we host for industry professionals on how to use Dolby technology. And again, it's technical information and technical learning, but always with an eye towards advancing storytelling and explaining how these technologies can be used to make more immersive, more impactful, deeper storytelling experiences for people who are using those tools for content creation. And before COVID happened, we hosted a lot of industry events in person and various places, typically New York, Los Angeles, San Francisco, and at some of our international hubs like in London and China. So most of that activity has moved online. You can see those two windows up at the top was a conversation that I hosted with several of the Emmy-nominated sound designers and mixers last year about the work that they were doing and how they were using technology to support creative storytelling. And then finally, DolbyInstitute.com is the home of the Dolby Institute, and it's where all this goodness resides. So we created our website as a hub for all the Institute content, and as a repository and a library for people to go to and study and research and learn about what we've been up to. So that's where we showcase and amplify stories of a lot of the artists who are using our technology and how they're telling their stories and how they're using technology to showcase their creativity in exciting ways. I want to touch a little bit on education, and then John will talk more in depth about that in the second part of the presentation. But basically, our idea is to provide access to Dolby resources for students and artists. And we do this in order to enable their artistic expression and to teach them how to enhance their own stories. So we do that by curriculum support. We've developed teaching and training curricula on Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision that we provide free of charge to education partners. We do make access to Dolby tools as part of our program, and we do that in order to support artistic expression. And we do that through focused engagement with a handful of education partners who are adopting Dolby technology into their teaching work streams. So the reason we educate is because we want to demystify the tool sets and make the Dolby content creation tools accessible to anybody who's interested in building a more immersive, impactful, and spectacular content experience. We want to fill the resource gap for current and future storytellers who are interested in exploring technology for storytelling. And we want to make our tools accessible to our partners and to enable a more robust user generated content pipeline and to improve the quality even of cat videos on YouTube. We feel that there's a role for creative sound design in all of those use cases. So, John, as I mentioned, we'll get a little bit more into some of these topics, but right now we have developed an in depth curriculum for Dolby Atmos, Dolby Vision, and Dolby Atmos for live television production. You're going to hear more about our partnership with Avid and Pro Tools, but we partnered with them on Dolby Atmos certification. And we do have partnerships, as I mentioned, with key universities and research institutions around that's helping us develop our curriculum, getting feedback from students, and to make those content creation tools more accessible. And lots of future initiatives. One of the things that has surprised and delighted us as we've introduced new technology into the world is how much artists use those technologies and run in different directions with them, like Atmos and specifically in music and in gaming. And we have a lot of ideas about how to use our programs to develop and support STEAM initiatives, both in the US and also internationally, working in partnership with our geo leads around the world. And we see opportunities for ourselves in supporting underserved communities and through providing mentorships, workshops, and access to education and internships. One of the pillars of the Dolby Institute program is giving emerging artists direct access to Dolby tools and technology to help them bring their stories to life. And so we have a number of direct artist support programs, including the Dolby Institute fellowships that I'll touch on, short form filmmaker challenges. And in a moment, I'll talk about a specific one of those challenges that we are activating through a content partnership with the Ghetto Film School program in the United States and through our education partnerships. So the Dolby Institute Fellowship, these are some posters from some of the films that we've supported. We created the Dolby Institute Fellowship in 2014 in partnership with Sundance. And it came out of a realization that we had that there were a lot of filmmakers who were already doing really interesting, unique, and creative things with sound in their storytelling, but they just might not have access to the budgetary resources to execute at the level of vision of the filmmakers. So we created the Dolby Institute Fellowship Grant to recognize filmmakers who were doing something really interesting and powerful and unique with sound in their stories, but just needed a little bit of help across the finish line. So since 2014, we have supported 14 feature films with Dolby Institute fellowships. And the fellowship is a direct post-production cash grant that goes to the filmmakers. It allows them to augment the sound design of the film and then to mix the film in the Dolby Atmos sound format. And happily, 2 years ago, we added Dolby Vision to the fellowship award as well. So this allows the filmmakers now to finish their films not only in Dolby Atmos, but also in Dolby Vision, which is our high dynamic range imaging format. So these are just some of this is a list of the films that we've supported. Quite a diverse list of films and filmmakers. I hope you've gotten a chance to see at least a couple of these films. As I mentioned previously, we see that the Dolby Institute has a role to bring diversity to the voices in our industry. And this is an image of a panel discussion from one of our Dolby Institute Fellowship winning films, Blind Spotting. You can see Daveed Diggs here, who is the star of the film and also one of the writers and producers of the film. This was a film that we were particularly proud of, shot in Oakland, based in Oakland. It's a Bay Area story. And these are if you've seen the film, you know that David and his filmmaker partner Rafael Casal, as well as the writer and director Carlos Lopez Estrada, were doing something really interesting with sound design and their storytelling. So this is exactly the kind of film that we look to support with the Dolby Institute Fellowship, and we believe that it serves a great purpose in broadening the diversity of voices of people in our industry. So along those lines, we formed a partnership with the Ghetto Film School. This is a partnership that's really important to us and is going to be taking on increasing importance in the next couple of years. We're going to be creating an emerging filmmaker challenge with them that you'll be hearing more about, especially if you follow us on dolbyinstitute.com. We're also, as some of you might be aware, in Los Angeles later this year, the Motion Picture Academy is going to be opening. Finally, they're opening their Academy Museum in Los Angeles. And as part of that museum, they are opening the Shirley Temple Education Center on the ground floor of that, which is going to be a teaching space. And they are partnering with the LA Unified School District to create an after-school enrichment program to teach image. And happily, the Dolby Institute is going to partner with the Academy to create a sound curriculum and to build a studio where students can explore sound and learn about sound design technologies to further enable their storytelling. And then obviously with our podcasts, our industry talks, and our filmmaker support programs, we always are keeping an eye to diversify the voices of filmmakers that we amplify through those platforms. We also, a key part of our mission, we have been in the first few years of the Dolby Institute program really focused on programs in the US and North America, but we really seek to expand that footprint all across the globe. So we are expanding our team to include ambassadors for emerging markets. The Dolby Institute Fellowship Program, we supported our first film from Latin America this year in partnership with Bolivia Film Lab, a wonderful film named Carnival that was mixed in Mexico City in Dolby Atmos. And we also have education partnerships with the University of Technology Sydney that we'll be announcing soon, with Beijing Film Academy, and with Cannes University in France, just to highlight a couple of the film partnerships that we have to educate internationally. So this is just a quick glance at our engagement map. It gets broader. It's broad at the top and gets increasingly focused as you go down. So at the top, we're reaching the creative class and hundreds of thousands of people annually through our videos and podcasts. And then it gets more focused as you go down that map and more high touch with live education programs, our film school engagement, and film festivals with prosumers and students. And then finally, our direct artist support programs for content creators through our fellowships and our direct artist support. So I want to touch very briefly on the impact of the Dolby Institute. We have produced a tremendous amount of education content, over 80 hours, most of which is available on Dolby's YouTube channel, in addition to on dolbyinstitute.com. And to date, those videos have gotten over 2.2 million views. And our audio podcast has been listened and downloaded over 750,000 times, which for the kind of content that we talk about, which is sound design for film and television, those are pretty impressive numbers. The Dolby Institute podcast has become part of the teaching curriculum at film schools. I was really surprised and delighted after a couple of years of doing the podcast program to find out that several different film schools have included us in their curricula. And I'm happy and sad to say that we show up on tests occasionally. And I've found out that our podcast is we have a lot of followers in China, very popular there. So that's been very gratifying. The Dolby Institute Fellowships that I mentioned earlier have supported Dolby Vision and Atmos finishing in 14 feature films with emerging directors and content creators for a total investment of under $1 million, which is pretty impressive. And those films have gone on to be acquired and distributed by some of the major distribution studios in our business. And this is just a handful of the companies that have acquired Dolby Institute Fellowship movies. and put them out into the world. So that's just a quick overview of the Dolby Institute program, and grateful for the opportunity to speak with you today. And so I'll stop the screen share at this point and invite John Scanlon to unmute and turn on your camera and come in and talk to us a little bit more specifically about our education programs. John?
Unmuting is key. Thanks, Glenn. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'll go ahead and introduce myself. Again, as Glenn introduced me, I'm John Scanlon. I work for the Dolby Institute in the education side of things. I started off as a recording engineer back in the late 90s, and then transitioned into education where I ran a sound department, directed a sound program in the Bay Area for about 16 years before I moved over to Dolby. And when I moved over to Dolby, I was hired for my integration work. So I was building recording studios, both music and post-production and educational facilities. And I joined Dolby's experiential team, working with their tier 1 trade shows and throughout other experiential activations. We had a place in Soho in New York for a couple of years called Dolby Soho, amongst other things. And now I've come back full swing into education, and I'm very excited about it. Very excited to share what we have at Dolby, and with Dolby's as a company's support and the family, and of course Glenn directing the institute. We're full throttle, full steam ahead with our education initiatives, and really trying to bring the Dolby magic into people's lives. It's already there; they just don't know it. And teach these young content creators how to work with it to better tell their stories. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. And so really, as far as the Dolby Institute is concerned, I have to start off most of the time talking about just what Dolby does in general. And Dolby was founded over 50 years ago by Ray Dolby as an inventor, and his main goal at the time was to make cinema sound better. And what the issue was back in those days was noise, right? So he really focused on noise reduction technology for cinema, and that bled over into the music recording world. And when I was a recording engineer, I worked with many Dolby products over the years, and throughout the years, Dolby has been involved in standards for broadcast. And Dolby, again, like I just talked about, is everywhere. So there's examples of Dolby throughout all facets of entertainment, like Dolby Atmos music, which nowadays you can stream in Tidal, Amazon HD, and in Avid Play. I'm really sorry about this. Come on, buddy. Sorry about that. In the cinema, obviously Dolby cinemas are around the globe, and with partners like AMC. We have our televisions and sound bars and home entertainment partners like LG and Vizio, Panasonic, etc. They all make TVs and sound bars that will play back Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. Apple has been a great partner for Dolby. All of their mobile devices and the whole Dolby Atmos ecosystem is actually enabled now. So laptops, iPads, iPhones, AirPods, etc. And then broadcasts. So every time you watch a television show, it is being broadcast in Dolby. And Dolby makes codecs, which basically compress and decompress the technology and the audio, like MP3 and in the future MP4. Our institute's mission in education, again, is to bring this power and be able to give this artistic expression with these tools to our younger content creators, younger generation of content creators. And so how we do this is especially amplified by the pandemic. When education became remote, we really sped things up, and we created a curriculum for free. And at the end of this, we'll be providing some links for you to access that curriculum, amongst other things that I'll talk about throughout the presentation. The curriculum covers Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos, and is completely free to anyone to not only go on the site to learn, but to also incorporate in their own high schools, universities, wherever they feel like they can use it. And that can be done either in part or in whole. So it can be an a la carte, or it can be, you could just take the whole curriculum and adopt it. And there's also exercises that you can download and use that are real life examples of Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision projects. And I'm here to facilitate that and help those universities and high schools through that process of adopting that curriculum, talking to them about how other universities and educators have delivered the curriculum to their students, and then be able to get them access to the tools they need to actually incorporate this in their schools. So again, we have two major formats that we instruct on: Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision. Dolby Atmos is our sound technology, and Dolby Vision is our imaging technology. I'll give you a brief overview of those. And what we're doing now is, like I just talked about, and Glenn has mentioned, offering curriculum support. We are creating focused programs through schools, some universities around the country, and even globally throughout Australia and in the APAC and EMEA regions, where we are taking smaller subsets of students now that are working remotely and giving them access to Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision tools so that they can actually teach their students in a remote fashion. Some places are able to actually still access the campuses, but most are not. And so we've been able to adapt our technologies to be able to work remotely during these times. And we're also looking at artistic expression. So we're working with places like Glenn mentioned, like the Shirley Temple Education Facility down at the Academy Museum in LA. And we're working with artists to try to figure out how their installations throughout museums and places of education can be brought to life. So instead of listening or exhibiting or going to an exhibit and experiencing something in stereo, can you bring that into an immersive environment so that when people are in this place, they really can feel the impact of what the artist is trying to convey? Again, the Dolby tool set is all about trying to take what the artist is envisioning, right, and bring that to the screen and to the speaker system. So Dolby Vision is our imaging technology, and it's fairly new. It's it's probably 5-6 years in the market. The image here that you'll see is a link that you can go to later on that we'll provide. And what you're seeing on the right-hand side is a standard definition image, and on the left-hand side is a Dolby Vision image. And this kind of gives you an idea of what Dolby Vision is trying to do. Dolby Vision is really trying to take HDR and imaging technology to the next level by really bringing out all of the colors, all the luminance, and all the brightness of your TVs. And again, going back to something that you're going to hear over and over, whatever the artist is intending to put on the screen, they can actually then put on the screens the deepest blacks and the brightest brights, right? Now, when you see this link later on for Dolby Vision information that will be provided, you can actually grab this slider on our website and move it back and forth, and you can actually see the difference between Dolby Vision and standard definition. And this is being brought to tablets and mobile phones, and also a lot of TVs. So if you go into any major retailer nowadays, you're going to find TVs from LG, again, from Vizio, from Panasonic, et cetera, that are going to have Dolby Vision technology capabilities. And the Apple ecosystem with streaming services like Netflix, Apple TV Plus, and HBO Max are all grading in Dolby Vision to help enhance those feature films and episodics. Dolby Atmos is our immersive audio format, and it's going to provide a compelling listener experience in the cinema at home. And the great thing about Dolby Atmos is that it's very compatible with almost every system in the world nowadays. So this goes from cinema all the way down to earphones. I'll play this video, and you can get a quick overview.
Dolby Atmos is a breakthrough new sound experience that makes it easier than ever before to get amazing sound. It's a major advance from stereo and even surround sound. In stereo, streams of sound are delivered through 2 channels. Surround sound enhanced audio by creating 5 or 7 channels. It's a much richer experience, but the limitations of channels still remain. Dolby Atmos revolutionizes audio by freeing sound from channels. As a result, it can create a complete atmosphere of sound all around you, even overhead. It also enables much finer control over individual sounds, which can be precisely placed and moved in 3-dimensional space. Each sound can be made louder or quieter, more diffused or more focused, bigger or smaller. So every part of the audio comes to life with its own unique personality and moves around you the way that it does in the real world. Dolby Atmos adapts this premier sound experience from the cinema to other environments, like a home theater system, or a simple soundbar in the living room, or even mobile devices with a set of ordinary earbuds, making the sound as precise and immersive as your listening setup allows. We call it moving audio, as the sound flowing around you makes you feel like you're truly inside the action. And that heightens the impact of your entertainment. Look for Dolby Atmos in movies, TV shows, games, music, and virtual reality experiences, and hear your entertainment come alive all around you. Dolby Atmos. Feel every dimension.
What you were seeing there with those purple balls is what really makes Dolby Atmos great, and that is objects. And in audio, we've gone through, of course, many different revelations of channel-based technology. So we started off, of course, with mono, went to stereo, and then went to full surround systems. And now we're at Dolby Atmos, which is immersive. And the immersive part of it really is bringing in the overhead height channels to this. So if you think about surround audio, what you typically have had is a left, center, and right channel that covers the front, right, for the screen. And then behind you, you would have some surround channels to bring out that element of being, again, surrounded by audio. Now with Dolby, what we bring in is we bring in the height speakers or the overhead speakers that you can get full immersion. And by unlocking the channel based, meaning panning left, panning center, panning right, and turning those into objects, those become XYZ coordinates, and you can really accurately place the sound anywhere you would like to. Now, this started off, of course, in the cinema, but has evolved into, again, streaming services like Netflix, HBO Max, and with Dolby Atmos music on Amazon, and Tidal, you can listen to Dolby Atmos music as immersive audio. So through all these different changes in history with channel-based formats and audio formats, the problem has always been the consumer and the content creator, right? And in order to adapt to these formats, you've had to spend a lot of money on equipment, and with Dolby Atmos, you don't need to do that. So the benefit of Dolby Atmos nowadays is that if you've got an iPhone 12, an iPhone 11, if you've got a newer MacBook, if you've got an iPad, and you got some AirPod Pros, you can actually listen to this on streaming services that exist right now. So again, many different ways to experience Dolby overall in the market. This is the overhead setup that I was talking about, and these are speakers that you would actually install into your ceiling that would add the Dolby Atmos experience to this home theater. These are your traditional surround channels, which are called the bed down here on the floor. And because a lot of people don't have the capability or don't want to install speakers in their ceiling, there's other types of speakers that are made nowadays which are actually called up-firing. So the left and right speakers here would actually have up-firing drivers that are placed in the top, and they would actually hit the ceiling and then bounce back into the listening position. So you can still get those overhead experiences. And this goes all the way down to sound bars, right? So sound bars also are enabled with Dolby Atmos nowadays, and they cover all price points. So you can put in your traditional high-end home theater system if you really want to, but if you don't, if you have a smaller living room or you don't want to spend the money, but you still want the experience, soundbars start as little as $500. And TVs run the gamut as well. So you can get a TV from $500 all the way up to, very nice 77-inch LG OLEDs for $4,000, $5,000. But again, there's something in there for everyone to experience. So as far as different formats that we have nowadays, we have Dolby Cinema, Dolby enabled televisions, home theater, like we just talked about, speaker and soundbar, smart devices now. So your Amazon Echo Studio, your Apple HomePods, those are enabled with Dolby Atmos. With gaming now is very exciting. So you can do gaming on the Xbox and Dolby Atmos, and then mobile devices via speakers or headphones, like we talked about with the Apple ecosystem, and with a lot of Android devices as well. So as far as formats, content formats, and where we're really trying to engage students, where we're really trying to enable those younger content creators, is music, film, television, episodic gaming, mobile, and experiential. So we're really covering the gamut of content creation. So no matter what a student is interested in, if they're creating content and we're doing a Dolby Atmos presentation or a Dolby Vision presentation to them, they're almost instantly interested, especially nowadays that we can do it remotely. And again, we don't need a lot of equipment. They can actually operate this on their laptop. Some of our creation tools that we have available, Glenn mentioned in the beginning, Avid Pro Tools. We now have a certification that is going to be going out to all their learning partners globally for universities. Steinberg, Nuendo, Ableton's a very popular music production tool, as well as Logic. And then Blackmagic Resolve at the bottom there is how we do Dolby Vision grading. Now, how we've been able to enable this remotely throughout the pandemic is with the binaural renderer. And the binaural renderer with our Dolby Atmos tools is really what allows us to, right, visually, it's understandable that on a laptop, right, you can do video editing and stuff like that. But when you're doing audio, you typically need a large speaker system or a speaker system around you to do audio. It's very hard to do it out of speakers on your laptop. With the binaural renderer, what we can accomplish though is we can actually create immersive audio in headphones. And so what this does is it uses HRTF, which are head-related transfer functions. And if you see the graphic on the bottom right there, what we're really trying to do is take human anatomy, right, and create an algorithm to mimic immersive sound with just stereo headphones. And some of those anatomy differences are, you know, if I've got a sound that's coming from the left-hand side, that sound's going to be louder in my left ear than it is going to be in my right. Also, dependent upon the frequency that's coming from the left side, my head is either going to shadow that sound, right, so I won't hear it in my right ear, or I'll hear a reflection. Or if the sound is low enough in frequency, it will actually wrap around the head to the right ear and I get an arrive time difference. So there, and then there's the, you know, just the physical part of it, like the shoulders in relationship to your ears, the pinna and the helix, right? And all those different physical parts that play into this as well. And so what Dolby's been able to do is create a simulator for immersive audio. And it's surprising when teaching students how accurate it is, where I can actually open up a post-production session or a music session and pan something in real time, and the student on the other end on a laptop listening on a set of headphones can actually hear the sound move above their head, behind, and then back around. So here's some of our Dolby Atmos tools when it comes to DAWs or digital audio workstations. On the left-hand side, you'll see our renderer, and this is an external piece of software. There'll be a link provided again at the end where you have access to this. Dolby throughout the pandemic has been really good about giving out the software to educators. And so there's a 90-day free trial. You'll have an access to that link. On the right-hand side, you have the Dolby Atmos Music Panner. That's a free piece of software all the time, at any time. So you can download these and you can actually start to use them with your media production students. And how this basically works in a very simple way is your DAW, you see that blue square on the left side, which would be Pro Tools, Ableton, Nuendo, something like that, will talk to the Dolby Atmos renderer, right? So two completely separate pieces of software. And how they communicate is something called the Dolby Audio Bridge between the two pieces. And, you know, at any time, you're welcome to contact the Dolby Institute, and I'm happy to help talk about how to set this up. It's really simple. I can show people that have DAWs how to grab the software, put it on their machine, and load it up in like 15 minutes. What really enabled this to happen was Apple unlocked Core Audio. And what Core Audio is the main audio system inside Apple computers, and it allowed 130 channels to be able to communicate between two pieces of software. And so what we have is we have your major production workstations like a Pro Tools or something like that, Logic, Ableton, and then you have the Dolby Atmos renderer. And the Dolby Audio Bridge allows audio to pass between those. And then, like we talked about before in the renderer, you've got the binaural renderer inside the computer as well, and you're able to listen to this on headphones and actually teach immersive audio remotely. So we've had great success with this with universities like San Francisco State. We're doing a remote project right now where students are actually composing in Dolby Atmos, writing pieces of music, and then using players in Chicago to actually perform those pieces. And then they're meeting up every once in a while and they're auditioning this stuff through headphones in real time. And our resources here. So we want to provide people again with access to as many Dolby tools as possible, and then also help get people over the initial hump of being able to teach the curriculum and get this to their students. And again, what we really want to do is just start to create more content out there and give more students and educators access to this tool set, as we know how much it can help improve their content creation process. So we've got the Dolby Atmos Production Suite 90-day trial. We've got the Dolby Atmos Production Suite downloads for software. There are some quick start videos to get you up and going really quickly. There's a full curriculum and exercise content package available for both Dolby Vision and Dolby Atmos. The music visualizer will actually give you an on-off button so you can listen binaurally via headphones, and that's just a web link. So you go to that page, you pick your genre of music, and then you plug in your headphones and you can actually turn binaural on and off and hear the difference Dolby Atmos makes for that experience. There's a full website with Dolby Vision information where, again, you can grab that slider and look at what Dolby Vision will do to imaging. Dolby Institute, obvious. And then Blackmagic Resolve training is a free training package available from Blackmagic, and DaVinci Resolve is actually where we do a lot of our Dolby Vision grading. So that's my part. I'm going to exit out of here and stop sharing my screen and invite Glenn back.
I'm back.
And we'll get to some questions.
So Haley's been kind enough to pop some of the questions over into our chat box. So the first, John, I think a lot of these are for you, and we only have a few minutes before we wrap up our presentation at 10 till. But the first question that popped up was, is Dolby Institute currently hiring or looking for any interns? And we're not currently hiring, because we actually currently have a great intern who's been working with us for the past few months from the University of North Texas. But we do hire interns from time to time. And I would say that Dolby in general has a super robust internship program. And if you're interested in hearing more about that, you should cruise on over to careers.dolby.com and search for keyword internship. And there's more than enough information for you to find out about that. And then I'm not sure that we're going to have time to get to all of these questions. But if we don't get to your specific question, or if you have additional questions that come up to you after the presentation, I would invite you to email us at institute@dolby.com. And that will find its way to John and myself, and we can address your specific questions. John, are you able to see this? I think there's some teaching and technical questions in here that I think you're probably better suited to, John.
Yeah, sure. Video editing programs at the moment are Blackmagic Resolve. Premiere, not yet. We're getting more and more partners as time goes on. A lot of partners on the Atmos side are now jumping in that are video editors, but Blackmagic Resolve is what we're using at the moment that can do both Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision. What can programs who can't afford the technology do? So I would invite you to email us, as Glenn just said, and what we can do is we can talk to you about what resources you do have and figure out if we can get you the software you need. As we've been working with many different programs, and again, what we're trying to do is reach out and create a diverse program for all communities. And I'm giving a presentation, for instance, on Friday to a nonprofit in New York called Building Beats, and it's an after-school program, and they teach music production on mobile phones and tablets. Obviously, the Dolby Atmos renderer won't work on those particular applications, but we can at least introduce them to the technology, and then talk to the educators as well, and see if they can't get a couple of systems together so that they can actually use that for groups of students, and make that available to them. It's surprisingly affordable now. So I would invite you to please just email us, and we'll get you the list of equipment needed. And it's not as expensive as it used to be a couple of years ago. So possible applications of Dolby Vision on the iPhone 12. Yeah. Lots of applications with the iPhone 12. So first of all, capture and playback for anyone that owns a mobile device. Before, you needed an HDR camera, which was very expensive, $15,000 to $20,000. Now with an iPhone 12, you can actually shoot Dolby Vision content yourself. And again, I would invite you to visit that website and see the different examples of what that can do. I did forget to mention as well, if you have an Apple device and you're interested in watching Dolby Atmos and Dolby Vision content in real time, you can go to the App Store and look for an app called Dolby Summit, SUMMIT. And if you download Dolby Summit, that's been our virtual events platform throughout the pandemic. But there's also 4 pieces of video on demand content there that you can watch, both in Dolby Vision and in Dolby Atmos if you have an Apple device. And it will give you a great idea on what the iPhone 12 can do as far as recording. And then let's see.
John, I think we're at the end of our time. So,
okay.
We're gonna have to stop there. But again, I would encourage you, if we didn't get to your question, please shoot us an email. Again, that's institute@dolby.com, and it will get to us, and we will do our best to provide you a clear, lucid answer to whatever your question is. I want to turn it over now to Giles Baker, who is our Senior Vice President of Consumer Entertainment Group, to give us a wrap-up message. Hi, Giles.
Hi there. You guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine. John
Perfect.
and I, we're going to go off camera and let you bring this thing in.
All right. Well, it's always good to make sure that the sound is working when you're working for Dolby. So I'm glad that that's the first thing that we can check off. And as Glenn said, it's my opportunity just to wrap up the Dolby section, and I hope that this has been a really good experience for those of you that have been able to enjoy all the content that we've gone through. You know, I have an amazing role at Dolby. I'm responsible for the consumer entertainment group here in the company, which means that I'm responsible for figuring out, with a lot of other people that you've met today and my team and other groups in the company, how can we continue on our vision, which is to deliver spectacular experiences that transcend people's expectations. And the cool thing about this vision for us is that it's one of those things that you can never quite get to the end. Because if we come up with something that transcends your expectations as a consumer or as a content creator, as a storyteller, as a musician, you're going to use it. You're going to love it. You're going to get used to it. And when you get used to it, it will become something that you expect. And so we get to go reinvent something new and transcend your expectations over again. There was a question just a couple minutes ago to John about Dolby Vision on the iPhone. I mean, I think that is a perfect example of how we are helping the industry to transcend people's expectations of what's possible with a mobile device when you take it out your pocket and film whatever is happening in your life, whether it's your kids playing, a music event, you know, life. It brings to life your experience of what we were looking at in a completely different way from what you've seen with traditional cameras using video. Dolby Vision makes it closer to reality. And it's one of those things where when you first see it, it's incredible. After a few goes, still cool. When you're used to it, it's what you expect. And why would you ever go back to something else? So we have the opportunity to continue on that vision and that mission to transcend people's expectations. Hopefully, over the last few hours, you've seen how we engage with the industry as well. The great thing about Dolby is that we have this beautiful intersection of the science and the engineering and the technology of how all of the pieces of the technology industry work, particularly around delivering entertainment. And we marry that with the artistic aspects of what it takes to create art, and expanding the palette of people who are artists and enabling them to come up with new things. And this isn't like a one-way street. This is a collaboration. So when we have new ideas, we engage with artists to find out, you know, is this interesting to you? How could you use it? How could you improve it? What do you need? And it becomes a beautiful virtuous cycle where we can invent increasingly compelling things for everybody involved in delivering these kind of experiences. That kind of engagement is what gets us out of bed in the morning. And it's one of these unique things about Dolby that I think engages everybody across the company with this shared passion that I don't think you find in a lot of other companies. For us, entertainment, particularly in my group, is a very big focus. And the industry is obviously evolving very quickly. For us, it's a very exciting time because we, over the last few years, have really broken out of the areas where we've been very, very strong, like movies, and increasingly in TV content. As entertainment grows in new genres like gaming, which has broken out of being, you know, a simple one person playing a game experience to a whole industry delivering shared experiences where people watch people playing games and collaborate in online environments. We see huge opportunities to continue on that path to make these experiences bigger. So our focus is continuing to broaden, and the opportunities just get bigger and bigger as we go there. The really interesting thing for us, though, is to understand these new areas, understand these new contexts. And that's where our engagement with educational institutions and a real commitment to internships and bringing in the next generation of people at Dolby is so important. It's not just something where we can continue to bring new people in. It's going to be our lifeblood, because if we can bring in these broader understandings of how the world is changing from new perspectives, we can help to make a difference. We can help to enhance and make those experiences spectacular. So the ability for us to bring in new ideas and new talent is absolutely important. And at this juncture in the way the entertainment industry is evolving and our company is evolving, it's never been more important than it is today. Now, I've been at Dolby for 11 years. When I was thinking about doing this talk, I was thinking it was 10 years, but you know, time flies when you're having a lot of fun. It's been 11 years, and the thing that is just so inspiring every day to me, and I know to many other people in this company, is this shared passion for doing what we do. It's amazing to work in a company where the impact of your work is seen by yourself and by everybody you know on a daily basis. And increasingly, we see this in all of these different contexts, and we hear from our friends, our relatives, people that we tell what we do, how it changes and how they've experienced those kind of Dolby difference moments. So it's a shared passion, and it's an amazing place to work and live and to grow up in. I've learned a lot, and I continue to learn an enormous amount. So I hope that the last couple hours has given you an insight into how we do this, why we think it's important, the great opportunities ahead of us, and most importantly, the real need to expand the points of view that we have in our company and really embrace the next generation of leaders, which I think is what we're all interested in doing. So thank you very much for all of your time and attention this morning. We really appreciate it. There is a Dolby booth in the expo hall where you can go and view some more demos. And please do sign up for our mailing list to stay in touch. We really look forward to hearing your feedback on this event and continue to engage on how we can work together to bring these new experiences to life. Thank you very much.